Alright. Hi Flosstube. This is Minnie from AllXXs, and I'm joined right now with Smokey. He's making his appearance. And we wanted to let you know that we're doing a WIP parade. I'm back. Hi Flosstube. This is Minnie at AllXXs. Smokey is sorry that he had to leave. He had another engagement, but he wanted me to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I know it's been a while since I did a video, and I had so much haul and gifts and everything built up. It was everywhere, piled up, and so I'm not going to try to catch up and show you all this. It would be here until next week. So what I'm going to do today is, like Smokey said, I'm going to do a WIP parade, and I've tried to put them in alphabetical order, so maybe we can get through this quickly. So let's get started. My first WIP is my 2020 Pandemic Sampler by sarcygirl. And I started this one. I started it the 1st of January this year. And it's a free chart if you go to sarcygirl on Instagram, and you can find her her link in her profile where you can get the chart for her 2020 sampler. Okay, and this is where mine is at now. The last thing I was working on was this White House. I've got everything in this corner underneath that house is done. And I'm working my way up to this, and this side will be finished. So this is where I'm at on this one. I love this sampler. I'm not really a sampler person. You know, I don't choose samplers all the time, but this one spoke to me, and I think it's beautiful. And this was a sampler that she made up during, the beginning of the pandemic. And then she's so generous that she actually is giving it away for free. So I really appreciate that one. My next WIP is A Haunting We Will Go. This is by Keslyn. Of course, you know I love Halloween charts. This is on a light green, 32 count, even weave. I started this one in June 19th. I think it was at the StitchCon, and this is where it's at. So it won't take much to finish this one. And I think I get this fabric from 123 Stitch. My next WIP is, it's a Jardin Prive, and this is for you, Gary. It's pronounced ABC de la Brodeuse. And from this day forth, I will be calling it Ada Button. I'm gonna take her off my Q snap, my scroll frame, so I just rolled her down. But this is where she's at, and because her first name and second name is Ada Button, and this is what she'll be called from now on. My French isn't that good, and so she's nicknamed Ada Button. I started this one in August at a retreat in Hershey, Pennsylvania with a friend, my local cross-stitch group. And Jan and I started this one as a stitch along. And I shortened the name to Ada Button. And we used that name as our table name because we played games at the retreat, and you had to have a name for your table. So our group and name was Ada Button. And it was very good luck because we won a couple of prizes. Our table won, and a couple of people at our table won individual prizes. So it did us good. My next WIP is a lady named Ella. This is a charity collaboration between fashion designer Ebony Short and cross-stitch designer Brittany Church of Ingleside and Imaginarium. This is a sketch of a dress that was designed by Ebony Short, and they worked together, and Brittany made it into a cross-stitch chart. And I love this. It's on 32 count linen called Rose Murder from Under the Sea Fabrics. And this is where she's at. This is not a overnight project because there is a lot of like confetti stitches, and you have different shading to create that see-through look on the sleeves and the top part of the dress. So it's not a quick finish, but there is someone on Instagram, I can't remember her name, but she has finished it, and it's gorgeous. But this is where I'm at now. I love it. All of my charts, as I've said before, I stitch, unless I'm stitching something specifically for someone, I mainly stitch for myself. And when I choose a chart to work on, to start, it's because it's something that has spoken to me. It has touched me some kind of way. So, yes, I love all my charts. Hold on one second. This is one of my cups I brought home from the Bahamas from one of my cruises. Oh, and as you see my shirt, Symphony of the Seas. That was our 2021 cruise that we went on in November. And no, I did none of this stuff they showing on here. The zip line, no. Rock climbing, no. The abyss, no. What is that? Wolf ride? No. None of that. It's not designed for 60 plus. Okay. My next WIP is my Advent animals that I'm doing on a hand towel from Walmart, which turned out to be about like a 40 count. So this is my absolute oldest chart. It was from 2014, September. Yep, September 14, 2014. And here is my Advent animals. I'm down to number 16. So I've worked my way down to number 16. And I've got a couple more rows to put on here. I think I would have been finished by now if I had decided to put it on regular cross-stitch fabric. And it's very taxing to me to work on this, but it was my own fault, so I'll have it finished 1 year, and then I'll be able to display it. But I love those little animals. They're so cute. And Brooks Books is a very good designer. I like her designs. Okay, my next WIP is one that I started with EJ. It's the animal angel. African angel. My animals. Yeah, African angel. It's by Barbara Baatz. And I did start it with EJ. And let's see, when was it? 2019. This is on an antique white even weave. I think it was one of those in the tube too. So this is Charles Craft, I think. And this is where she's at. My animals are finished. And I've got one wing in on this side, and I had started working on her face and her head. And that's where she's at. I would love for this to be EJ's focus piece. I would love to stitch with her, and we can get this finished up this year. So if you're listening, EJ, consider this as your drinking game. So every time we would say African angel, you take a drink. Alright. Moving on. This is one of the very few Mirabellias that I've worked on, I've stitched. This one is on Daphne, 28 count Daphne from Under the Sea Fabrics. This is this is Bella B. Let me see. Okay, that's better. All right, now you can see it. I love that beading. And it's not a lot left, so it should be finished this year, next year, 2022. I started this one in 2020, so like I say, it should be a finish, definitely a finish next year. Okay, my next chart, my next WIP, and now it is now, yes, a WIP for me. This was given to me by my friend Connie G. This is Blackwork Peacock from Joan Elliott. I love that. I had been looking at it and debating as to did I really want to get that and start it. And Connie decided that she wasn't going to finish hers, so she offered it to me, And of course, I'll finish it. And she sent me all the fabric and and I mean all the fabric. This is a lot more than what's needed, but she hadn't cut that piece, and so she just sent it all to me, and I appreciate it because I have beautiful fabric for something else once this is done. But this is where it's at. Now the design calls for I think it called for a white fabric, I think, and black floss. This is Blackwork, but kind of used, let's see, her fabric choice was Razzleberry, 32 count Joan Razzleberry from Fabrics by LJ. Very beautiful fabric. I love that color. So yes, that is an inherited WIP. And I just got them last month. So, or was it this month? Well, in the last 2 weeks. My next WIP, I started this during March, doing the Stitch Asia with Abby Bella Stitch. This is from Ink Circles. And this is the Comparative Small Ship of Life. I didn't have the nerve to start one of the larger because I knew it would never be finished. So, this was a great choice for me. This is stitched on 32 count even weave Ruth from Fortnite Fabrics. I'm stitching 1/2, and the floss is actually a silk from M on Instagram, and she also has a YouTube channel where her skeins of silk come in these tiny little skeins, and I love it. And it's great to work with. It's very nice silk, and it's affordable. So check her out. She's on Instagram. She has a YouTube, Almond M&M. She has a YouTube video, and like I said, she's on Instagram, and she sells her silks. She has beautiful colors. Okay, so my next WIP is called Crystal. This is from Cross Stitching Art. This one is stitched on 32 count Lugana Hera from Under the Sea Fabrics. I have a Fabric of the Month subscription with Under the Sea Fabrics, and so I'm using a lot of her fabrics. This is Crystal. I love her face. I think she has attitude, which is very important. But this is where she's at. The colors are beautiful, and it works very well with this fabric, with the purple and the blues. This was one of my WIP Gold projects. And speaking of WIP Gold, I did good up until October, and then November happened We went on a cruise. It was Thanksgiving. And I didn't keep up with WIP Go. So 10 months I did great. And I got a lot of stitching actually on a lot of my WIPs during WIP Go, because there was some I had and I had finishes from WIP Go, and then I had a bunch that were that I did like 1,000 stitches was my goal. So I had put in a lot of stitches this year. My next WIP is Ego Sum. This is from Arelate Studio. I saw McKenna had started that, and of course I had to follow. I purchased it from McKenna at 1884 Stitchery is the name of her shop. And this is where it's at. I love the skeletons. And this is basically, I'm going to finish up the banner up here. And there's some words down below the skeleton, and that's going to be it. I'm not going to do that border. It's just too much for me. It's just too much. So I won't be doing the border. But I love skeletons, so once I get that part done, he's done. I need someone to take, take my finishes and actually FFO them. So maybe I'll do that. I'll get them FFO'd, or I'll do them myself. I have no idea how I'm going to do it. But FFO takes away from my stitching time, so. Okay, my next one is Glendon Place, Frankie the Thinker. This is an old one too. This is from 2016. I think this is Haunted. The fabric it's stitched on. Trying to find my tag. Oh no, I can't. Oh, there it is. Okay. This is, picture this plus 28 count. Picture this plus Haunted. This was a WIP Go piece that I did 1,000 stitches, which actually got his head and his shoulder. I love that face. So it actually got his head and his neck, like that portion of him. So that's Frankie the Thinker. I know you heard my phone ringing, but my husband's in the other room, so he took care of that. I won't have to pause or cut off my film. My filming. My next WIP, I started this one in 2019. It's on Etsy. So you can go on Etsy and find Happy Kaawanza. And I started it the 26th of December in 2019. And after I had gotten this far on my stitching, and I get frustrated because I got to this side and this is all the, I didn't measure my fabric correctly, so it's gonna be really close on this side. She has a hand with the cup in her hand, So I get frustrated and I put it aside, but it won't take much to finish it. So I think I'll work on this this year after Christmas during Kwanzaa, and hopefully I can get it finished up. I'll just add some sore piece of fabric onto the side, around the sides of it, so that way I can hold it on the, I can put it in the Q-snap, and I think it'll work. My next WIP, okay, let me explain. This started out in 2016 when there was the big Flosstube craze for Harry Potter. Now I know recently in subsequent years since 2016 there's been some controversy over the author of the Harry Potter series, and I don't know exactly what all was said, and I'm not going to waste time trying to figure it out. And I respect people who, you know, were offended, and I don't plan on offending anyone. But, however, this is my chart, and like I said, I started it back in 2016, and I'm going to continue until it's finished. And here it is. This is the Hogwarts Crest. I got this off Etsy. The designer is Colleen Carrington, and she's on Etsy. It's on 18 count white Ada, and this is where it's at. As you can see, I've done a lot of stitching on this, and this is all full coverage. Everything inside this crest is stitched, so I will be continuing until I'm finished. So, like I said, I'm not doing this to offend anyone, but that's a lot of stitching I've put in. So I will be finishing my project. And it's not because I'm supporting any particular opinions on the author of the Harry Potter series. My next WIP, and actually current WIP because I was stitching on it last night and we'll finish up today, is Silver Creek Samplers Hissed Off. I think that is adorable. And the cat's face reminds me a lot of Smokey. I have to see it softly. He's outside the door doing his thing. And this is where it's at. That's why it's still in the Q-snap. And all I have are the rest of the little words, and it'll be finished. And this one I started in November. My next WIP is from CW Designs. It's called Ironwork Gate. This is the companion piece, which is a beautiful scene of a New Orleans style house. This is a close-up on that gate, and I like that. This is being stitched on a 16 count white Ada, and I got it from AllXXs. AllXXs Incorporated is the needlework store that I went to, and this is what I picked up. And this is where it's at. This is another full coverage piece. Even though it's small, it's full coverage. And you know me and full coverage. I love these pieces, but I keep forgetting, you know, that full coverage kind of drives me crazy. Oh, I'm sorry. I pulled my tripod. So give me a moment to put these, stick these back in the bin, and I'll get my second bin. Alright, to continue, my next WIP was from a picture of me. My niece had it converted and converted to a cross stitch project, and I named it Just Me because it's just me. I'm stitching it on a 14 count oatmeal, and it is also a full cover. The section is full coverage. So, but this is where it's at. This was one of my WIP Go projects too, so I had 1,000 stitches put in here. And it's amazing how once I get started, once I pick it up and get started on them, I can stitch and stitch for days. And but there's again full coverage. I think it's psychological because I know it's all full coverage. It just seems to take so long. But that's another one that I'm going to work until I finish it. My next WIP is from Cottage Garden Samplings, and it's Forever and Ever. This is part of the Songbirds Garden series, and this is number 1. And I love the cardinals on it. This is actually the only one from that series that I've chosen to work on. And this is where it's at. And this is stitched on where's my tag? Here it is. It's stitched on a 32 count Belfast linen in vintage Stormy Night, and I got it from Jardin Stitchery. So it's one of those. This isn't actually white on the back, but it's a greenish, and this is the vintage Stormy Night. Let me see if I can. Let me get this needle. Okay. I hold it up here so you can see the fabric. Okay, there we go. I love the female cardinal. She's not as bright and cheery as the male, but I love those markings on her. Okay, my next WIP is another one that was given to me by my niece. This is the Martin Luther King Memorial in Washington, D.C. I've actually seen it, taking pictures next to it. It's huge. And when she was in town and went to the memorial, she bought me that chart. It's from the Posey collection, and this is what it looks like. This is where I'm at. It looks really, really good. From a distance, It's a full coverage, so it's going slowly. And when you get really close to it, it looks just pixelated. But as you can see, all that detail comes out when you look at it from a distance. This is on an off-white 16 count Ada. And like I say, it's full coverage, so it's a long-term work in progress. My next WIP, I did a little changing on this one. It's Silver Creek Samplers Moonshine. I love that moon. This is stitched on 32 count even weave fabric flare. It's charcoal hand dyed fabric flare. There's a lot of modeling in this fabric, but it's white on the back side. So, and that moon hasn't been filled in, so I've got to fill that in. Other than that, everything else is stitched. And as you can see, I did a skin conversion, and I love it. The colors on here are, they pop on this gray. And now I did put in the year, which I shouldn't have done, and I put in 2021, but it's not going to be finished in 2021. So I don't know, I may have to pick that out. Now on the chart, on the cover of the chart, it says 2020. Yeah, it's charted for 2020, and I changed it to 2021. However, I have to pick that out and make it make it 2022, because there's no way it's going to get finished this year. But I love it. I enjoy it. Like I say, I enjoy working on all my charts. I have so many of them now. I have 32 WIPs, and that number keeps climbing because there's so many beautiful charts on the market now, and I just can't keep up my stitching. I don't care how fast I go, more charts come out than I can stitch. So now I have a pile of charts here. I have kitted up charts here and here. I just can't stitch fast enough. That's why my under the bed box, or finished but not FFO box, is so full. The more I stitch, I just can't stitch it all. I'm trying as fast as I can. My next WIP is from Fil'anthrope Embroidery. No, Fil'anthrope Brodeuse is the name of it. As you remember, I stitched this one. So this is Natural Beauty 2. This one I definitely did not get a lot of work on, and it wasn't called on my, I don't think it made my WIP Go board for 2021. Let's see, I started this one, when did I start it? Oh, December 21st, 2020. It should have been, it may not have been called yet. Before I bailed on my my WIP Go wheel. So it doesn't have a lot of work done on it. But this is where she's at so far. You can see the partial of her face, part of her face. I think the coloring is beautiful, and I'll get back to her someday. She's being stitched on 32 count Lugana Malicious from Under the Sea Fabrics. My go-to fabric count now is 32. I have a couple. Well, I've got plenty of 28 count in my stash, and I don't. You know, I still stitch on it, but 32 count makes it a little bit smaller. My next WIP is from Night Spirit Studio, and it's Pain. Now, I believe it's yeah, it was charted in the skin conversion, so I used that, and I'm stitching on 32 count Weeks Dye Works Gunmetal, and that's the color of my fabric. I love the rose on this. And I think it's gorgeous. That rose is beautiful. And that's my skin conversion. Or the skin conversion that it was charted for. And I like that. Trying to hold it up here without dropping everything. And I don't have a board. Well, I only have one board, so it would still I would still be fumbling with it. I'm not like Gary and have 99 boards. And there you go. Now you can see there's not a lot left to do. The ankle, the wrist, and the bracelet, and it'll be done. I don't think I'm going to do WIP Go next year for 2022, but I will be doing oh sorry, here we go again. I will be playing this game. This is a Facebook group by the same Finish Line. What's the name? The game is Sprint to Your Finish Line. Cross Stitch Finish Line. That's the name of it, and it's on Facebook. Terry and Joe are doing this. They've combined with their Flosstube. They've combined their Flosstubes. They are now the I think it's the Forgetful Stitchers. I'll try to put that in the Absent-Minded Stitchers, something like that. I should be one of them. But anyway, this is their challenge game for next year, and this is the game board. So I'll be doing this along with working on my other WIPs, and I'll probably by the end of next year I'll probably have still 32 31 WIPs, because of course I'll be adding some. I can't do no new starts. That's just sorry EJ and Sheila, but to me that is just sacrilegious. This is cross stitch. And I'm not going to put myself through that torture. This next WIP is Kitty and Me, Phantom. And I was inspired to work on this, to start this project by himself, Smokey. Can't say his name too loud. Don't want to disturb him. This is where I'm at now. And it's being stitched on Pele's Fire, 32 count Pele's Fire from Under the Sea Fabrics. And I love the way the blacks and the grays pop on this fabric. It's just phenomenal. Okay, my next WIP, we're getting there, folks. This is Teresa Coogit, Pray. Love that angel. Another one of the, it's a very small full coverage piece, but full coverage nonetheless. And let's see, when did I start this one? 2017. And this is where she's at. Got quite a bit done. But it's full coverage, folks. And as much as I love my charts, full coverage just does me in. It's one of those brain things, I guess. I get psychological trauma from just thinking about full coverage charts. I used to, when I first started doing the Flosstube and watching Flosstube videos, I would see people doing these HAIDs. First of all, I didn't know what HAID stood for. I'm like, what is a HAID? Found out that it was a heaven and earth design, which was okay, that's cool. But then I found out that these charts are ginormous. They're full coverage from wall to wall. And no. And I would see people start off, they would pull out this big sheet of fabric this big, and I've been stitching on this project. I started it back 2 years ago, and this is where it's at. And then they'll pull it, that big piece of fabric, and they'll pull it over and they hit a square that big in one corner, and it was all black or navy blue. And I'm like, no. And I think that you know, that kind of did something to me about full coverage. But anyway, okay, this is another inherited chart from my friend Connie G. I love this. This is beautiful. This is done by did I have a I'm not sure. Oh, I know who it is. It's Maria Diaz. And this chart was in the magazine Cross Stitcher, March of 2004. So this is from the magazine. 2004. And kind of decided she wasn't going to finish it. And of course, well, she passed it on to me. Along with all the flosses that are bobbinated. Everything's bobbinated and it's in the box. I got all this big piece of fabric. And this is where she left off. Look at the beautiful stitching on it. Her stitching is so neat. I just hope when I add mine to it, there isn't a big change. It's beautiful. Love the peacock. And this is on, let's see, what's the fabric? I think it was in here. I'm not quite sure. It's a light blue. It's a light blue even weave. It kind of looks like maybe that Charles Craft even weave. Very nice. Love stitching on that. But yes, this is Pretty as a Peacock. It's the name of the chart. I can't wait to, excuse me, get started on that one and try to blend my stitching in with hers. So thank you again, Connie. Appreciate all the extras that came with it. And all the bobbinated floss. Okay, my next WIP is Repeat the Sound in Joy. And this is by Cathy Barrick. I love that Black Swan. I don't know, it was something about this one that Black Swan just spoke to me. And I'm not sure, I think I already had the fabric. And when I saw that chart and the fabric it stitched on, it looks so similar to this. I think that's what made me get that chart and actually put it on here. This is, I'm not sure. This is on a linen. I think it's Ancient Mara. I think that's what it is. It's 32 count. It's from Seraphim Fabric, hand-dyed fabrics. And this was I think it was a one-off that she was getting rid of, just samples. But this is what it looks like. Let me see if I can put something behind it to block. Okay, the light going through it. Alright, there we go. So I've got part of the swan and part of that border, the deer. And this fabric, like I said, is so similar to what's on the chart that I love the way it's turning out. I'm stitching it one thread over two with all DMC flosses. I love that. That swan is so large that I'm doing it in sections, and to keep those lines out of it, that's why it has the jagged edge on it. My next project, my next WIP, is from AllXXs Embroidery. There's a couple, well, I think on their website, the original name is Visiting a Fairy Tale. I can't read Russian, so to me, obvious the name is The Sun and Moon. And of course I got that one from 1884 Stitchery. This is stitched on 32 count Joblin in lamb's wool. I love that sun. And the waves. And all I have left are those clouds up top, which are across the top of the chart. So that won't take long to finish. Maybe I'll have one of those, well, on that game, Stitch to the Finish Line. I think that's going to help me on a lot of these. So that's why I'll have a bunch, probably a bunch of finishes next year. My next WIP is Suffrage Act Proclaimed. This is from Little House Needleworks. And it's being stitched on 32 count Lugana Celine from Under the Sea Fabrics. And a very good friend of mine sent me a Gloriana silk. So this is being stitched with DMC flosses and Gloriana silk. And all I have left is Suffrage Act Proclaimed, the finished, the writing up top, but everything else is finished. I did a little skin conversion on the lady. And my Gloriana silk is in that portion of the border. It's beautiful. So, yeah, I'm loving that. And hopefully this year we can get the Voting Rights Act so everybody needs to vote. Everybody needs to vote. It's the only way you get things done. Okay, this one is from Marnik Designs. It's on marnikdesigns.com, and it was something about the face. You know, I love stitching faces. So this is it. It says turn your face towards the sun. That's the name of it. It's stitched on 32 count Lugana in a light blue. Get this from my local needlework store, In Stitches. And it didn't say which dyer, but it's very nice even weave. And this is where she's at. I do believe all of my stitching is done. It just needs beads on her necklace and her earring. And that's where it's at. So this will definitely be a finish without just the beading. So this will be a finish pretty soon. My next WIP is, like EJ and Chili I think said, these are part of a series that I had started, and I started in 2017, and I think I have one more on this chart and these three, so they haven't been started, but it's a series, and everything's kitted up for it except for mine. I had to put my fabric in there, but because it's a series, it's still considered a WIP. My next WIP, which is actually my next to last WIP, aren't you happy, is Words to Live By, Justice, from a heartstring sampler designed by Beth Twist. And it's just a Bible verse. But I love it. And it spoke to me when I saw it. She has a series of Words to Live By, but this one is the one that actually spoke to me and stood out to me. It's stitched on, I'm sorry, I forget. Fortnite Fabrics, It's About Time, 32 count even weave. And as you can see, the modeling in that fabric is fantastic. I love it. They do a good job. And that's what it looks like. When I pull this out again, it shouldn't take very long. The words don't take very long. And as I said, that was my next to last WIP. And my final WIP is Yin Yang from Stitch Rovia. It's done on a 22 count. This is on Hardanger or 22 count Ada hoops and threads. I think I got this from Michael's. But this is what it looks like. And as you can see, I only have that one section of the forest to do. This was another one that I worked on doing whip go, and I think I put in all this orange part, the sun and the clouds. This is being stitched 2/2, like I said, and this is 2/2 on, or is that 1/? No, it's 1/2 on 22 count. And I love the coverage on it, it's really good. So, once I get started on that one, it won't take long. And like I said, I have a lot to go on my game board and stitch to the finish line. Okay. So, those are my whips. Those are the ones that I'm going into 2022 with. And by this time next year, it'll probably be a whole different set. Hopefully, maybe I'll have Advent Animals done by then. If not, it'll carry on. I thank all of you for coming back and watching. My battery is getting ready to go down. It's on its last leg. So let me finish. I thank you all for watching my video, and I thank you all for sticking with me even though I've been absent. I've been AWOL. Shame on me. But I appreciate you all coming back and watching my video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Check out my description box. I'll have, hopefully I can get all of the designers and the charts listed in the description box. Visit me on Instagram. I post updates of my stitching on Instagram. I have a blog that I may update, and I'll try to get my WIPs in there and my finishes. My next video, I'm going to do a year-end wrap-up, finish all my finishes for the year. And if I don't see you before Christmas, which is next Saturday, because today is Tuesday, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a safe and healthy New Year. So until I see you again,